Good afternoon and welcome to the Monday, June 23rd, 2025 meeting of the Kingston City Land Banks Board. My name is Mike. I serve as the meeting's moderator. We do ask that members of the public limit their comments to no more than 2 minutes per speaker. And with that, I'll turn the meeting over to our board chair, Mr. Nate Hennigan.
Thank you very much, Mike. Start with the roll call. Starting to my right.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Holderness. I'm on the board.
Sarah Delarso, board member.
Joanna Jordan, board member.
And to Zoom. Barbara.
Barbara Ianides, board member.
And Nate Hennigan, board member. Do we have a quorum?
We technically,
We're not voting on anything
We're not.
today, so
That's
it doesn't matter. But
Oh, because that's.
yeah. Doesn't matter. We're not voting on anything, so
we're good.
we're good. Well, I get, can I entertain a motion to accept the prior meeting? Yeah, sure, why not? It's gonna challenge it.
Exactly. That's the only thing. It's just subject.
Yeah.
Whatever. Someone.
Well, is there a motion to accept the prior meeting? This is uploaded to YouTube and approve the current meeting agenda? You just said so.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you, Barbie. All right. Love it. Yeah, it's too hot. Board chair announcements. I don't have much to announce today. Everything's just kind of cruising along. We still have construction going on the last 2 homes in Keystone. We're working on getting plans underway for Grand. The lottery simulator. We've got the month of July off. So we will be off for a month, but back in August. Yeah, nothing else major to report from me. So seeing that we have no members of the public here, we'll move on to the executive director's report.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Quick report. So our pipeline, no change in the number of properties from last month. We still have the opportunity to move forward with that old vacant lot at 24 Belmont. The reason I'm dwelling on it is that the neighbor actually called today to inquire what our plans were and who's going to clean it up. So I mentioned it to say there's interest in us doing something with it, but we don't own it yet, but we could own it. Just for context, for the next round of properties under the city's dispo policy, we don't have anything that's been offered to us as Article 11 or Article 19A. When we do, we'll have 90 days to accept or reject. So I just mention it every month because one day it will happen. We will have to analyze a lot of different things and make some decisions. No updates on the Article 19A judicial ruling that was due last month on the 24th. So if the judge is ever late, they're always on time, I'm sure, but we are waiting for that judicial ruling, upon which we would have 90 days to accept or reject those single family homes that we believe will be offered by the city of Kingston. Pre-development will be light because we have more updates at ADC, but 46 Grand Street is still 46 Grand Street. 3rd Avenue, I did write an email about the Mid-Hudson Momentum Fund. Unfortunately, but perhaps fortunately, we were informed we were not accepted for funding under round 2. I've subsequently foiled ESD to receive all scoring sheets and any other criteria related to that process. And so that's due back on the 9th of next month. I may have some more updates around that. It would be helpful actually to get some constructive feedback, which we have requested throughout the process, and it might help us to better understand how we could be more well prepared for another round of funding, of which there will be one. So the next item in our pre-development remains our new home program, for which there will be updates at ADC. I don't mean to drop these or have no updates at this point, but I just don't know when to hand off. So I have nothing more to say that Kyle and Owen aren't going to say in a few minutes. Potential new funding opportunities. We had some updates on our congressional directed spending from Senator Gillibrand. We have, for the 3rd time, I believe, in a row, made the Senate Appropriation Committee public disclosure. So we are included in the senator's package as part of her disclosure. That's in your board package. It's interesting to see what other applicants there are in Ulster County. Rockco's applying for the same amount of money for context, so we're in good company as far as folks who are following this money. Her chief of staff had no idea of the timeline or process, and said, as we know, it's a little bit difficult to predict. Moving on to the Ulster County Housing Action Fund, round 2, the legislature will review this in July. We have a meeting tomorrow with the planning department just to discuss maybe some updates to what our application could look like to capitalize on the greatest amount possible. So they will meet in July. We'll have some updates, hopefully in July at our next meeting. And then to be announced possibly in July is the next round of land bank initiative funding. So we could apply, we believe, based on if we're qualified to apply, if we've met the qualification, which is a little unclear what that could look like, but we will apply under the open round at some point, as long as it remains open, probably for the max, definitely for the maximum amount, probably for another $2 million. So stay tuned on what that looks like. We've been told it might be kind of this kind of crazy Shark Tank type of thing where you just kind of pitch an idea. It might not be, it might be a very, scaled back version of that because it's difficult, I think, for people to administer a Shark Tank type thing and like line up all the scoring. So see on that. Nothing else other than to say that if you're all interested from the Land Bank Association conference, there is Corporation Council's or Land Bank Association Council's real property tax law review of all the different changes that have been made, and also HCR's update on kind of where they're at with LBI funding and their process and how they're doing or how they think that we're doing. So those are my updates. Thank you very much. Really tired.
Understandably. Great, we'll move on to the committee reports. Acquisition, distribution, and construction. Owen, or Aaron's not here, so I'll just, end up just kicking into Owen and Kyle anyway. So, Owen, why don't you give us the construction update?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. Keystone's the most active thing in construction land right now. We got these two houses that are not done, but nearing their end game. Both 48 Hasbrook and 52 Grand Street have a substantial completion date of the very end of July. And substantial completion means they're pretty much done. The punch list isn't necessarily done, but the goal is to have C of O and the most of the scope done. So seems like we're pretty much on track with that. There are a couple of materials that are coming in kind of like in ways that we'll test that a little bit, but generally the GC's trying to push for that to happen, and we expect the projects to wrap up around that time, including the extra demolition that we tossed to the GC during the project of the garage and shed on the border of these properties so that we could rearrange the lot lines some and give 46 Grand Street more space. I'll pull up my little tracker now. Okay, so as I reported to the ADC committee, the overall themes remain pretty consistent, which is that if you look at what's been requisitioned, we are right about on target, Grand a little ahead, Hasbrook a little behind, but the two of them together with the same general contractor are expected to land on schedule. Grand contingency pretty much wiped out. Hasbrook took a bigger hit than some of the other properties, but is just fine here. These properties we've been dragging the heels a little bit about establishing what's going to be an exact sales commencement date as we resolve what's going on with 46 Grand Street and make sure that that corner looks good, which it does now. So we'll get back to that a little bit, but otherwise no big weird things coming down the pike for these two properties, and these houses are turning out okay. They're turning out good, even though they've had a bunch of different curveballs tossed at them. I think that's pretty much what I have to say about Keystone, but any questions about what's going on with Grand or Hasbrook renovations? Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Owen. Sticking with Keystone, Kyle, tell us about financing and dispositions.
Okay. So here's the latest financing update. Yeah, tracking with Owen on schedule, on budget. A couple things to point out. We're nearly entirely drawn down on our LBI funds we have allocated to this project, and we are actually, after this month, we'll have fully drawn down our ARPA spending. So good to finally wrap that up. A couple things to point out as we wrap up our LBI and ARPA spending. We're going to start pulling more from Novo on the remainder of the project. You can see here we have the kind of largest rec this month, but that's to be anticipated, all part of the budget, and we still expect to have significant savings from the original budget on the project. So happy to answer any specific questions, but I'll just scroll through the properties here. Answer any questions anyone might have.
Hey Kyle, how did we end up with a negative LBI2 balance on Grand?
We spent our funds, our LBI funds, across where they came up on the project in order to draw down those funds as quickly as possible. So we ended up drawing down more funds across some projects because the spending kind of came up sooner on them. But overall, looking at this, yeah, we underdrew on some properties and overdrew on others. So we're all within budget overall, and that's kind of the flexibility within this project. Yeah, so
that budget and balance is basically just like whatever we allocated to each property. It's not like,
yeah, it's nothing that's it's nothing that is problematic.
okay,
That's what happens when you get to be the bank.
yeah,
It's
no, it's a good problem to have.
a good problem to have.
All right.
Okay. Right. Move on to dispositions and sales and marketing.
Yeah. Please.
So dispositions, some minor updates to report. 38 Chapel is nearly entirely wrapped up. Hoping to have a closing date in the next few weeks to month. And Stefan and Abby are at the same point in the closing process. The bank just received the appraisals for both of these properties and they're getting reviewed by the bank, and then Sony May, at which point we can move forward to closing. So still a little bit longer to go there, just by nature of these being Sony May projects, but you know, moving forward with everything and all the paperwork that's in there, it's just a matter of reviewing at this point. As for sales and marketing, Owen was touching on this earlier. We were waiting to kind of clean up the site to start marketing the two homes and figure out some other aspects of the marketing campaign. But last we discussed, we're looking to possibly launch the campaign in the beginning of August.
Right. Any questions? Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks.
Moving on to the home program. Oh, and you had a architecture engineering update?
Yeah, so So we hired the architecture engineering team that's going to be working on the site plans and the foundation plans and basement plans for these houses. Those are documents that are going to be combined with what the modular company is going to produce to give us a more complete set for the house. They've started on the site plans, which is the most pressing concern for a couple reasons. One, to just check the viability of what we're trying to do and make sure everything we want to fit on this site can fit on the site. And second is to have something to pass on for the environmental review process so that that can get started. Those are moving along. They're like, we've got some nearly done drafts that I have some comments on, but should get wrapped up in the next week and a half. And it looks like what we are planning for the sites can work out both with the space that's on the sites and also the zoning rules. The architect and I met with the building department and we sent some preliminary plans for the building department and the zoning, sorry, the planning department to give some feedback on, which we got and have adjusted to. And we also pulled out some two different crane companies to verify that our ambitions for 37 hand ready are doable, and it seems like they are. So we are now plowing forward with the modular company to get those um, plans drawn up that the ADC and design committee have given their input on, and um, all that whole construction document set is going to keep chugging along over the summer. Yeah, I I think those are my main updates for that program.
Great, thanks, Owen. Kyle, HCR update?
Yeah. Just an update on the FUL, the follow-up letter. This is basically the environmental checklist that we need to complete for the home project. We are making a lot of progress on there. As Owen mentioned, we needed site plans to move forward with some of this, and we have something that we can pass on to HCR. We actually just heard back from them today with a status update on everything we submitted so far and got some confirmation that what we submitted was acceptable on a lot of stuff, and we got a kind of clear game plan for the rest of the checklist items. So feeling pretty good about that. And hope to have that wrapped up very soon. At which point we can move forward to the on-site activities that are what are considered to be choice limiting. Actually, after we complete the checklist, we still need to go through a public review period, but then we can start working on the site more actively.
We still need to publish for 22 days, right? And then we can have a 90-day review period, and then we can possibly get approval to be able to move forward. It's like an endless sort of. All right, just to add to what you're saying, Con.
Yeah.
If you guys are both valiantly going along with the process that we're learning along the way.
Great. Great, any questions? No? All right, last one, let's talk about 46 grand. Owen?
Yeah, so it's mid-late June now, and at the beginning of June, we demolished 46 Grand Street after doing asbestos abatement at that property. So it's gone. I don't know if everybody is like clued into what it looked like before, but this is the property and this whole corner now. So I think everybody's familiar that we have owned the two houses on either side of 46 Grand Street, which we've been renovating, and had this kind of blighted building in the middle with which was in rough shape, and now it's gone and filled in, and we're nearly closed out. The our building permit is not closed out, but I got a call from the building department, said it was in progress and that they don't have anything that they're missing. They just got to fill out the paperwork. And we've had a great between the heat and the rain, a great week for grass coming in. So this is actually like a 10-day-old picture. So the grass is starting to come in here, and soon this will be a clear lawn and two nice looking houses, and this construction fence gone.
Are there sidewalks around that property?
There's a more defined sidewalk on Grand Street, which you can kind of see the sandbags of this fence sitting on. On Hasbrook Avenue, there's certainly a right of way, and there's previously the kind of right of way pavement sort of bled into what was the Grand Slam parking area or asphalt area, and there's not really a defined sidewalk on this stretch currently. It's
And the city of Kingston defines where sidewalks are for the people that own the property.
well, the survey defines where our property ends and where the city property starts. And yeah, I think a future work on this site will probably involve a reimagining of what the current sidewalk is in this area. I would assume.
I think that'd be lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just want to make sure we're not impeding any sidewalks that might be there, and that we're happy if any sidewalks appear that weren't there before.
Yeah. Currently we're like literally impeding them, but we have a sidewalk permit to have these fences like in the middle of the sidewalk at the moment, and we'll have these fences gone before that permit expires.
So when will you take the fences down? I'm just curious.
Yeah, around July 14th, I think, is when they're going away.
Okay. And then what happens with the maintenance of a property like that? I mean, it will be sitting a while before we can do construction, right?
Our updates pretty soon will be about like how high the grass grew or how much snow fell, because we'll be down to those. Owen and I have been talking about a fence plan, possibly a picket fence around it, obviously be mowing the lawns. Maybe to answer your question would be the maintenance piece.
I just wondered if when you have a vacant property like that in Kingston, if people, set up their grill on it, or.
Yeah, we want to be careful about that.
Yeah, so that's really why you would fence it in?
Yes. Be a nicer fence, or more inviting fence than this, if you were looking
And
to
it
buy a
won't, and it
house.
won't obstruct the sidewalk.
It won't be on the side. No. We won't make that mistake and
Okay,
build it in the wrong place.
okay, great, just curious, I've never been, privy to this side of the vacant lot, so.
No one has for many, many years. I don't remember when that was built, but.
Thank you, thanks, Owen.
Thanks, Owen.
Sure.
Mike, financing.
Sorry, I put that in there twice. So I had mentioned in my updates, the Housing Action
Okay.
Fund.
I thought so.
Regretfully, I have no further updates from my prior updates. 5 minutes.
So we're still waiting back from the letter we sent?
We haven't sent the letter yet, and the question was, what should be in the letter? And the conversation has taken about a month, possibly get a meeting tomorrow to talk about, this is what I'm putting in the letter. Do you understand that I'm sending the letter? They just need it by July. So my plan is to hopefully have a meeting tomorrow to talk about what could be in the letter, to talk about, maximizing the available funding for the most current opportunities.
Meeting with the county.
With the county planning.
Thanks.
If the meeting that they propose but not responded to having does not happen tomorrow, I suppose I'll wait a little bit, but I will draft a letter and send a letter and sign a letter, and they'll have a letter before their meeting with the legislature in July. So.
All right. Any other ABC questions, discussion? Hearing none. We will go on to the Finance and Audit Committee report. Okay.
All right. The committee as a whole did not meet, or not in my timeline, but Stacy and I met, today and went over the, so it's a summary of key activities, and we opened a 200,000 CD at Ulster Savings Account for 7 months, allowing us to continue to roll over whatever interest we have for our cash. I'm appreciative, and I say this later, but I'm appreciative that we take the time to do the footwork to move whatever monies we can to different banks, which we're also required to do by law, in terms of insurance, but for the bank, FDIC insurance. But it's just nice to be able to support other businesses in the city, including the banks. So that's good. And they're partners of ours as well in terms of mortgaging. So we sent one requisition to ARPA and another to LBI, which has been, I think, discussed. The property at 69 Gill was sold, fully funded, and the first of our 6 Keystone projects to be sold. We received a final invoice for the audit, as well as an invoice for the tax return preparation. All of that is tied up with a nice pink bow, and just raised our costs a little bit in terms of finance costs. But that will, it's only a one-time thing for this year. Work continues on the infill lots. In May, we completed topographic surveys and lead testing, which contributed to the increase in property costs. And I'm sure that we'll talk about maintenance and fences and other things as we go forward. All financial statements were reviewed and in order. Compliments on handling our cash on hand, so that it continues to bring income into our building projects. This takes footwork to find the right opportunity and foresight about our future cash flow. So thank you. Thank you. And that is my,
Can I ask a quick finance question?
yeah, you might want to ask Stacy.
Well, either one of you. Yeah. Looking ahead to the marketing campaign for the last 2 houses of Keystone, do we feel like we have budget to, like, what kind of budget do we have for marketing?
Stacy, do you want to take that?
She's looking it up.
Okay.
I think she's pointing to Kyle.
Yeah, I can pull it up.
I'm gonna say yes. But
Yeah, we do.
we do, I think we do.
Give me a sec.
So just to buy you some time, Kyle, one of the things that Stacy had talked about with the annual budget was our advertising and external communications line in the operating. And realizing that we were able to finance that or use the funding on the project level, it alleviates the spending, which opened up the opportunity for the service, like, if that makes sense. We had a budget, we were wondering why we weren't spending it. We realized, oh, it's on the project level because we have the money allocated to the project. And that's the number that Kyle is spending now that I may or may not have bought it.
Okay.
The marketing, and Stacy and I talked today about marketing costs as related to projects as opposed to marketing or other communications costs is related to the land bank itself.
Totally.
Got it.
Like the difference between the rough draft event that we did and like the bus.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I just noticed a little bump, and so we went through item by item because we're very detail oriented to make sure that we understood what that money was spent on. So we definitely have our eye on apples and oranges. You know, what do we spend for land bank and what do we spend for the marketing it? Just to reiterate just so I make sure I understand that the marketing costs can be rolled out of money designated for the houses, right?
Out of the project. Yes. Yep.
So, our marketing was coming out of our soft cost contingency, which is currently around $25,000, and there's other things that are going to go into that, but that's like the bare minimum. We also are expecting other project savings that we can roll into the soft cost contingency. Some items I'm looking at now, like an additional $14,000 there. So not a specific line item allocated to marketing, but we have a contingency that captures our marketing budget that is pretty substantial.
Great. Okay. I was just curious, like, what what kind of funds we have so that we could do some fun stuff with.
Normally, like for the legacy cities, they don't give you much, if any. And we had to have a big conversation around any homeownership counseling fee. It was supposed to be zero originally, and they would, just by way of example, on a term sheet deal, they're like, no, they sell themselves. Here, because we have LBI, we're able to be a little more flexible with how we spend it, which is great, which is helpful.
Yeah, so in the past, we haven't had anything close to that as the budget.
That a 5-figure number
Yeah.
for 2 homes? No,
You did the buses and stuff.
we did the buses, but that was out of the aggregate for the whole program. So that was maybe 3,000 for the buses, maybe 3,500. And then the 1,750 per closing was paid out of our soft cost contingency. That it was like it wasn't able to be budgeted.
If all of that's not used for the marketing, where will that go?
So I don't want to speak to what Kyle knows better than I, but my understanding would be it would be unutilized Novo funding on the project, which is dedicated to and reserved for project level spending, and we can roll it into the next project, no problem, which is great.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Alright. So we don't have to like go crazy, like we can, it's not like the money's heading away, and we have to spend it, but we have some flexibility to do some interesting things to.
Absolutely.
Alright, cool. Great.
Telling the story will be important for these last 2 sets.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, the more we do, the more the stories. It aggregates.
Absolutely.
Even though we're not the land trust. We're
We are not.
not.
I'm sorry, were you talking to me? I didn't hear.
No, I'm just talking about the constant confusion in the newspaper or the mayor, people talking about the difference between the land trust and the land bank. It's just an ongoing annoyance.
And I think we need to coordinate with them and do like a funny campaign. To like.
Super local.
Yeah.
Sending the job things for the land trust. But
Who
then
does?
should I? Like. I don't know. Thanks. They also get some. Yeah.
Alright, any other? Is that the end of the report?
Yes, vote. I said that before.
Yeah.
You had a
I know,
question.
sorry. Then I'll entertain a motion to vote to accept the treasurer's report.
So motion.
Is there a second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Yay.
All great, good. Great, then let's jump ahead to the comms committee report. Barbara? Take it away.
Sure. I will keep it brief. As it relates to the tabling at the farmers market, we reached out to the organizers of the farmers market and had our table date pushed from June 14th to August 16th. I think with all the life changes happening amongst the board members, this summer, we just needed a little extra time. So please keep the 16th of August open in your calendars. And if you are able to attend and sit, at the table with me, please let me know. And related to the social media contract, since we've last presented and entered into executive session with the board, we reached out to Chris Bick, Nate, myself, and Mike and myself. We interviewed him via Zoom. We had, a great conversation. Nate and I felt confident that if Chris was able to come back to us with a revised scope, given our budget, that, we would like to move forward. So since that conversation, he did send us the revised scope. We do come in now under the budget that we discussed back in March or April. And so the comms committee discussed during our meeting on Friday that we're going to go ahead and move forward with him. I will reach out to him after the board meeting, let him know that we will be, pursuing that contract through the end of the year. And I will, look to get that contract signed up before the end of the month and have a kickoff meeting in early July before I head away for a few weeks.
Is the revised report somewhere, Barbara?
His revised proposal, we have, I don't know if that's included in the board package, but I can forward it to you.
Just curious.
Voted on a not to exceed amount.
We did do that,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we voted on a not to exceed amount and, you know, appropriately had that conversation, and we're happy with his revised proposal to meet
Who
that scope.
administrates this work? Mike, do you administrate it or the committee administrates it?
The committee, will be administering.
Why? Helpful?
I think the way that we started this out was, as a committee sort of, I would love to have the bandwidth to jump in and do it, help. I think, the priorities of trying to sell the homes and trying to market the homes and then sell those homes and other things kind of take us away from what feels to me is like a really exciting committee driven and board driven initiative to do this. And I think it would be way more rewarding for the folks who are, you know, in charge of moving this forward and excited about it, be directly associated with the person who's responsible for putting it out there and doing it. I feel like we might lose the enthusiasm in translation if we're trying to get pulled into something and we don't have a vision for it that kind of got us to this point, if that makes sense. That's
Barbara, would you be interested at all in coming or having a discussion maybe at the executive meeting maybe or something about how the time or what your thoughts are about administering this? I mean, I just want to make sure that all board members are volunteers and make sure that everyone is clear on what they're committing to do, or are you groovy? Comms?
Yeah, we discussed this during our comms committee meeting. Paul, Sarah, and I were on it, and we talked about, you know, having a kickoff meeting with him in early July. I said I would make myself available, you know, to answer emails while I'm away, and we would do. I get back on the 21st, so we were gonna schedule a follow-up with him like as soon as I get back, so that way he would still have 10 days if he needed to finalize, you know, we could see what progress he's made on the strategy. And if he needed to finalize the strategy, which is the focus of the first month of the contract. And then, yeah, we have, you know, pretty prescribed like set of what his services are
Yeah.
as they've been revised. So I think the administration of it should be straightforward.
Yeah, that's, my concern is not him.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, so my concern is just that it doesn't exceed what we might expect of a committee. So, yeah, so we'll just see how that goes, right? The contract is for this calendar, thank you.
Sure.
The contract is for this calendar year,
Yes, from July through December.
right? Because it was in this year's budget. See, I have memory.
You got it.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Barbara, thanks for entertaining my curiosity. I know.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to answer any other questions. Given that we had the vote like earlier this year on the not to exceed number, I was told we didn't need to like bring anything else up for a vote.
Oh,
Well, I thought you were saying when it was like in the winter, when it's gonna be.
Yeah, I think we just wanted to take advantage of things when we take advantage of them, and already pushing to July, I think was a little bit pushing it, so I think we wanted to. We didn't want it to bleed into next year also.
Cool. And since it's a test run, it seems better to get it within this calendar year.
Yeah, exactly.
if I could, like, hopefully this is a lot of fun because the external communication, or at least the social media aspect of it has really been a board driven thing. And it's like, you guys know how you want this place to look, and you know, you don't want it to be confused with the KLT. And I think crafting that narrative is something that can be like pretty rewarding. We have tons of collateral, but I can barely put on a t-shirt, like I'm not a very
Is
good
he a-
external communication.
And I think
Is he a fun guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
We had a good meeting with him, I think.
Yeah, you've got a good vibe from him, because, yeah.
And we'll revisit work distribution once he comes up with a plan. I mean, really, I think the first month is him coming to us and saying, here's what I think you guys need, what you should do, what it should look like, and then you can see, are we gonna need to talk to him on a regular basis? And we kind of send him on his way, like, who's keeping him updated? I think we can split up that work so that it's not all falling to Barbara or to another committee member.
I've decided that I shall have the entertainment committee, the almost wellness committee. But I do, if I need official, like an official garland, for planning the retreat and stuff, I'm well on my way and I can make a report at the next board meeting. If you want that. But any kind of social, that I could just. If that's helpful, and if you don't, if you want to like look at the catering menus or whatever, let me know.
But to the point you were making, like, I think it's great if the comms committee is, jazzed about this and wants to drive it forward. But in the event that a time comes where like board members get busy or something happens, like, just want to make sure that like staff is able to pick up.
We're here to help.
Yeah.
Totally, but just not to like, get too involved in something that is really board-driven decision was the distinction I wanted to make, that I wanted to make.
I will just say, I was under the impression that we made this decision to take it off of your desk thing away, because previously you were.
It's been so cobbled together for so long, I think
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
just
no.
the next, like.
So, but so.
Right, and I think, the positive of having this filtered like through one person with the oversight of the committee is that it will help get a cohesive like message across our different platforms, right?
Right.
Like Mike was writing the newsletters, very like 3 or 4 different board members were taking over like different social media posts. Like it wasn't a consistent like voice, it wasn't a consistent brand like image look. So this should help at least like get that part
Totally.
cohesive.
And then we'll also figure out whether or not it is doable. How valuable is it, and is it doable by the board?
Mhm.
Or does it need to be handled in a different way?
Yeah.
The only way we would do that is by doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is all new. We're trying it out for the first time. I think the budget we have for this is like not gonna break the bank, that I think the risk is low, and if it goes well, we can expand it and we'll see how it goes.
So we can think of it as a prototype of this.
Yeah,
It's a prototype.
I think so.
Yeah. And then we can review its success and how much time it took and blah, 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 and
Yeah.
that would be good. And Stacy and I will keep an eye on how many flyers to be printed, whatever the numbers are in relationship to other numbers, so that will be. Yeah, everybody, okay, and I will say that I think it's perfectly okay for board members to ask for help from other board members. So if you need help or if something, I had 6 weeks on my butt, so who knows, I could be super helpful if you need that. Yeah, so please don't suffer. I have a little post-it note on my computer that says, don't suffer. So if you need help, please let us know, Barbara, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that. I'm really excited. It's like Nate said, we haven't done something like this before. It's gonna be an interesting pilot, and I think we will get some really great results and traction on our socials.
T-shirts that say not the Kingston City Land Trust.
Kingston Land Trust.
That's what it says on the back, and not the Kingston City Land Trust. Thank you, Barbara, for taking care of all this. We really appreciate it. Who signs the contracts with Mike though, right?
Either Mike or Nate, I think we sent Barbara a copy of our vendor agreement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll have to review.
Yeah.
Whatever
you
contracts
want to.
we need.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Chris know, we'll be sending him a draft contract. But I'll just like let him know where he stands in terms of to look out for that, and I'll try to get that done like some point by Thursday, and then I don't know, do we have someone internally look at it?
I'm happy to take a look with Nate,
Maybe,
yeah.
Brian,
Whoever.
I don't know.
It's really.
So we're sending him a contract?
We have a vendor form document
Oh,
that
okay.
we standardized.
Cause
for
he
them. Might have his own
try to have
too.
his own.
Okay. I'm so sorry, I have to step away for a few minutes.
Yeah, no worries.
So,
I think we just reach out to him and tell him like, great, we want to move forward, because we're also like almost a week away from July 1st, so
yeah,
we should reach out like soon and tell him to move forward, and then I don't think we care if it's on our contract, our paper, or his contract.
as long as it says all the right
Yeah.
ways to get out of
We'll
it,
check
stay in
against
it,
it, yeah.
I mean, I
pay.
think we should use ours under contract if at all possible, since we've used it a lot and it fits within all of our other, it fits in the dishwasher.
Yeah, no, for sure. I
So,
just wasn't sure if our is our vendor contract more focused on like
It's
plumber.
It has insurance, it has insurance requirements that are altered per vendor, based on what the state's requirements are, if it's a big GC, and it's really about the scope and the payment terms and the break term, the
Yeah.
break, basically the termination.
and
So I think you'll like it if you see it. We've worked on it.
Well, sure, that's good.
That was what we sent to Park. Wish you could just fire it off and send it back.
I just have an interest in that kind of thing, so if you don't mind sending it around or I'll
Sure.
get it from neighbors.
Is there a vendor agreement? Cool.
No, I'm just interested in contracts.
Me too.
You guys are alone.
Especially contract.
Nice.
I love contract. I can't go to, can't have a start a conversation without a contract.
All right, anything else, Barbara? Oh, no, she stepped away.
Yep.
All right, well, while she's away, I have on here discussion, Sarah, on new fundraising opportunities. No.
I left that on there, sorry. It was just an ongoing conversation.
I just have to
Look forward to
submit
having.
anything, but I
Hey,
haven't submitted it.
let me know how I can help. I'm
We've lost some time.
full of. Right. But I will have, seriously, anything, whatever.
Did you write a Kingston Common Futures grant?
I'm writing a
Which one?
application for the community foundation. So it's just an opportunity to have other people give us money.
Love grant. Love that.
Love it.
Drawing proof, send it to me.
Cool. Well, I think that was kind of everything on the stuff.
Yeah.
We'll see when Barbara gets back if there's anything else to add, but we can probably keep going on grants. Well, governance.
Governance, we didn't meet this month, but in lieu of, we have an interview coming up for the new candidate on the 27th. After that, we will then review both of the candidates in interview and revisit how to go forward from there.
Cool.
And it may involve us having a second interview with our previous candidate, inviting other board members to come.
That's right.
So we will let you know. 27, and then just, I know, I saw Ethel send a message asking for a Zoom link or something like that.
She asked for a link. She sent me an email. I was going to mention after the meeting. She emailed me earlier today that said that you were setting it up at 2 p.m. So if I can help set it up,
Yeah,
I can set it
I
up.
would just have.
I will
set
do
it up.
Yeah.
So I was going to mention it after. the
Yeah,
meeting,
no.
So I will
I
set it
gave
up.
this stuff, but look at
No problem.
the last one, but we'll see.
2 p.m. Would you,
On the
who should
22nd.
be there?
Governance committee and
Okay, I just never be too clear.
Yeah.
Okay, done. Great.
Number of board members is in the bylaws, correct?
Correct.
So if we wanted to load the quota for some reason, we wouldn't have to amend the bylaws.
Meaning add more?
Yeah.
We're at capacity, one more add.
Yeah.
So we're at 10 total.
And that's.
Yes, we would have to.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, so you're fine. Sorry, got it.
You would have to amend by.
Yes. All right, nothing else for governance? Cool. Design, Paul's not here, but I think the only update is Owen sent around that's a spreadsheet with some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we didn't meet this month, but we are working on design aspects for these new properties for the new homes development project. And so Paul and I met and we made a bunch of decisions for most of the houses. That we could make decisions on, but now there are outstanding things that need to be decided, so we have a deadline of the end of June.
June 30th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
We don't have a count. If I can.
Look at this.
Yeah.
See what. You have a nice white paint that you like. Can talk about it.
Aztec white. You need a nice off-white color.
Is that your go-to?
Aztec white, yeah. Benjamin.
Well, that's it for design.
And yeah, that's it.
Okay. Still seeing no members of the public here. Any new business anyone wants to add? Going once, going twice. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm motioning to adjourn.
Second that.
Second, all in favor?
I.
Yay.
Barbara,